Hey everyone, this is Skeptic Talk, and I'm bringing you the first in my series on the failings of young Earth creationism. This particular video is going to deal with the claim of many creationists in regards to a lack of physical death in the animal kingdom before the alleged fall of man that's described in Genesis chapter 3. It's one of the ideas that I found truly unbelievable about young Earth creationism personally. It's basically the idea, if you're not familiar with it, that before Adam and Eve ate of the magic fruit in the Garden of Eden, there was no death within the animal kingdom. Specifically that animals didn't eat each other and that they weren't killing each other for any other reason. Now you must understand that I'm a vegan and I don't like the idea of animals dying needlessly. But this idea of a paradise Eden where there's no death or anything, no animals dying, no animals eating any other animal, that doesn't jive with the idea of a healthy ecosystem. So here are some of the points that I'd like to have addressed by my creationist viewers. So I hope that you're all ready to answer some of my questions. Why do certain animals have mechanisms in their bodies whose only practical function is predation? For example, what possible function could the ability to make poison, like found in some spiders and snakes, have inside an herbivore? It seems to me that the only reason to have something like that, which stops the circulation of other creatures, is to kill other creatures. Another example from our arachnid friends: why would an herbivore need something as nuanced as a spider's web? It doesn't make any sense. Why would God design some animals with forward-facing eyes? Eyes that are basically designed binocularly, as scientists say, that are perfect for judging distances. It's a common feature within predators today. I could go on, and there's the incredible bite pressure of the crocodile. Boa constrictors have their obviously amazing constricting ability that they're named for, and even something as abstract as a shark's ability to sense blood in the water. Did God design them to be herbivores, but knowing that they would eventually become carnivores, put these things in them? If that's the case, my second point brings that into doubt. And my second point is, some animals need meat to survive. I know from vegan communities that some people have tried to feed cats on a vegan diet, and even though some claim it works, it often ends very badly. These creatures seem to need the flesh of other animals in order to survive and live their most healthy possible existence in a way that humans don't. If you try to feed a lion on a plant-based diet, the lion's probably going to kick the bucket. It's just that simple. Point 3, let me move on to point 3. It's the flip side of point 1, and why do some animals seem to have such potent defense mechanisms? Particularly some of the plant eaters, like, a rhinoceros. Why does a rhinoceros have such thick skin? Armadillos, which I believe are technically insectivores, why do they have that body armor? If nothing's trying to eat it, it doesn't make sense for them to be designed with it. Neither does the gazelle's ability to run as quickly as it does. It doesn't make sense if it doesn't have really fast predators that are going to try and get it. May think it looks like an interesting lunch. Why would they be able to run so fast if they weren't going to be hunted? Skunks. Their most famous feature is their ability to secrete that incredibly powerful, odious smell. Why would they need that if they don't have to defend themselves? I guess some animals like to mark their territory with their scent, but a skunk's ability to basically make that really powerful smell is so far in advance of what would be necessary just to mark its territory that its only practical function would be defense. Why would the other side of the binocular vision thing, why would some herbivoric animals, particularly those that live in large herds, have eyes that face outward? They're perfectly designed or adapted or whatever for basically, making sure that nobody can ambush them and sneak up on them. It's basically this idea that, they have outward facing eyes, and so they can look out and see if something's going to attack them. Sorry, I just need to check my notes here. Overpopulation. There we go. Overpopulation. If animals are never dying, but every creature is being fruitful and multiplying as God allegedly commanded them, we would eventually run out of room, wouldn't we? Not to mention resources like plants. which need to be replenished and can be overgrazed? What about soil erosion from all the waste that's being dropped? You have a problem of every species that ever lived, including those we only know from the fossil record, hanging around the Earth at the exact same time. That's not an Edenic paradise, that's a nightmare. Point 5. What about animal violence that isn't the result of the predator-prey dynamic? For example, animals fighting over mates. Am I to believe that with no death in the animal kingdom and everyone multiplying prodigiously that there was enough hot, wild sex to go around for everyone and nobody ever gets stressed out during mating season? What would rams need those big horns for if they aren't butting with each other and fighting with each other? So all these points I would like to see dealt with by my creationist viewers. I can't take creationist views of a pre-fall world seriously without these things being addressed. They're just too big of a problem. And so, anyway, I think that, if I can opine for a second, I think that the idea of interpreting you shall die if you eat from the fruit, which is what God warned Adam and Eve about in regards to the tree of knowledge, I think that this idea of physical death comes from that. And I also believe that the idea of predation as a bad thing in the animal kingdom also is something that I don't necessarily agree with. I think that predators have a very important role to play in the animal kingdom, and the claim that young earth creationists make that predation is the result of the fall and that this is the sign of the world being out of whack is problematic, and I don't agree with it. This issue of all animals originally being designed to be herbivores brings up a very amusing picture from a creationist book that my mom gave me when I was very young called Dinosaurs in the Bible. And I still have it actually, and I have it right here. It uses a very comical image of a Tyrannosaurus Rex eating a watermelon and just chowing down on this watermelon. Sorry, my book's in pretty bad shape. But this T-Rex is, chowing down on this watermelon, and it's basically making the argument that Tyrannosaurus Rex's teeth were basically not designed for eating meat, and they wouldn't have been effective for eating meat, but that they were really good for eating melons. And it almost kind of reminds me of the debate that some paleontologists have going on about whether T-Rex was a scavenger or a hunter. But it's twisted and stretched into such a laughable parody that it borders on and then surpasses the ridiculous. Again, in high school I used to be somewhat more favorably predisposed to young earth creationism. I think I mentioned that in my introduction video. But even then, this problem really perplexed me. Sorry, not protects me, perplexed me. I mean, at the Christian school that I went to, we had books by Morris and Ham and many of the other prominent young earth creationist figures, and none of them really gave me a good explanation for how such a pre-fall world would work. And they only said that the predation and death in the animal kingdom is the result of the fall, and that if God was really allowing animals to die out before he created Adam and Eve, that it would paint a picture of him as being an unfair and cruel God. The closest I ever got was someone saying that they were all post-fall mutations, all of these features that seem perfectly adapted for predatory behavior, that they were all mutations that happened after Genesis 3. But that idea is just crazy to me, because basically you're saying that these features just magically evolved over a short amount of time, and it's just as ridiculous as some of the crazy ideas that creationists claim evolutionists have, but they're giving it a much shorter time frame of only a couple hundred to a couple thousand years. And I plan on covering that in another video, the issue of evolution as believed by creationists and evolution as believed by most of the scientific world. But I'll let that sit for a while, so I'll get back to it. In any case, I hope I gave you a lot to think about. This is Skeptic Talk signing out and reminding you to answer the questions by questioning the answers. Please feel free to leave your video and text responses below. Thank you.